Welcome to Law and Life. So this channel is a step by senior advocate, Supreme Court of India, Subodh Markandeji, to share his experience, discussing various laws and statutes and legal issues. Today we will be having a special episode on the Keshri Tripathi ji. Sir, please tell us all about about Pandit Keshri ji. Last breath at home Prayagraj in early hours of 8th of January 2023 in presence of his family and friends.
So, Panditji was a very dear friend of mine. Though, later on when he became more active as a politician, he was more and more given greater responsibility. Then somehow we lost touch with each other. But he was my first friend. So, Panditji breathed his last at his home in Prayagraj on 7th January 2023. He was the first friend which I made in the Allahabad bar in August 1965. So I had just joined the chamber of Mr. Jagdish Swarup. Babuji, he was known to all his juniors and others as Babuji. And he was a very revered figure. When I joined the chamber of Mr. Jagdish Swarup, he was a very revered figure. He was already a phenomena, I would say. He was a legend in the field of law.
Yes, sir.
So he had come there, after a fairly long time because he was more actively associated uh, with another senior advocate called Viren, I think VPS Chaudhary, VPS Chaudhary, Mr. VPS Chaudhary.
Yes, sir.
They belong to same political lineage and got on together very well. So he was actually working in both the chambers, but he must have been busy with the matters in Mr. VKS Chaudhary's chamber. So he came after a long time. And there I met Panditji. Panditji, we used to call him Panditji or Keshri ji or Tripathi ji. So, but after 3 years of my practice with Mr. Jagdish Swarup, I left Prayagraj. It was called Allahabad then,
Yes, sir.
to join Mr. R. Vasudev Pillai's chamber. Mr. Pillai was a thriving advocate on record of the Supreme Court from Hyderabad, and he had a lot of work from South. So I was joining him as a trainee AOR, advocate on record. So during these 3 years, from 1965 to 1968, I was practically spending all my waking hours with Tripathi ji. So I was that close to him. So Tripathi ji, it was very difficult to say whether he was more of a politician or more of a lawyer. His persona as a active politician, seamlessly merged with his being a very astute lawyer. And of course, he was a poet of immense sensibilities. But I don't know very much about his political life and much less about his literary activities. But he was a great lawyer, very well grounded in all the principles of civil law. He was essentially a civil lawyer. Of course, he did criminal matters also. And he was very assiduous, very astute, but professionally always very ethical and correct. He had encyclopedic knowledge, of election laws, which was a very unique feature, which made him, the first choice in all election cases, cutting across, whether a person is from Congress or whatever parties were there at that time, Sanyukta Socialist Party, and of course Janasangh, to which he belonged. So in his chamber, one could see always, Kalyan Singh, Mulayam Singh, Hemvati Nandan Bahuguna, and all the rest of them jostling for appointment with him. But Panditji is no, his, he was, his strong point was cross-examination. And anyone looking at the whole proceeding would say that Panditji is so casual, but he was always very well prepared. He wove, the principles of law in the questions he is asking. And, but that very few people knew. But he got all his, what used to happen is that he had very unassuming demeanor
Yes, sir.
and very casual smile on his face. So anyone would say that he's not astute. What question will he ask? And witness never realized the implication of the answers which Tripathi ji, extracted from the effortlessly extracted from the witness who was in the witness box. So his technique was he would put the witness to such an ease that the witness would be off guard. And in that state of being off guard, he answered the questions. And the witness would not understand the implication of the questions which he put and the answer which the witness gave. So by putting the witness to ease, Tripathi ji would get, the answer, exact answer that he wanted in the shortest possible time. This was the great thing. And of course, he was very well versed in law, particularly election law. And in the court, he was very precise. His precision was remarkable. He was very precise and to the point. So he did not take much long to make out his case. I have seen him appearing in so many cases, election matters in the High Court, in the Supreme Court. But one case I distinctly remember. Now my memory has slightly faded. Otherwise, 10 years ago, I would have exactly said that this was election appeal number such and such versus such and such.
Yes, sir.
Today, I don't claim to have that kind of memory. So I distinctly remember there was an election appeal argued by Tripathi ji in the Supreme Court before a bench presided over by Justice James Shalett, who James Shalett was only next to Justice S.M. Sikri. So if Mrs. Gandhi would not have superseded Justice James Shalett, he would have become the Chief Justice.
Yes, sir.
So this case came in court number 2 before Justice James Shalett. And I had the good fortune of assisting Panditji. And in 40 minutes arguments, after getting over the initial hostility of the bench, he convinced the bench that the judgment of the High Court was totally wrong and has to be set aside. So, starting with hostility, Justice S.M. James Shalett complimented Tripathi ji and he said, "Why do you practice in Allahabad High Court? You come here. You better come here." But Tripathi ji had deep roots in politics, so it was
Yes, sir.
not possible for him to come because to him, politics was as important as law. Uh, so, but Justice Shalett complimented Tripathi ji that he should come more often to Supreme Court than practice in the Allahabad High Court. He was an author of the most celebrated book, on Representation of People's Act. And I have myself seen how it was written most casually. Panditji used to lie in the bed under lihaf or razai or whatever it was called. And then, rounds and rounds of tea would come from the kitchen of Sudhaji and with pakoras. So that's how, the whole book was written
Yes, sir.
during that winter. Very nice tea masala chai used to come.
Yes, sir.
Tripathi ji was a very endearing person, considerate to all and very indulgent to friends. So he had three passions: friends, politics, and law. And all of them merged together so seamlessly that it was difficult to say whether he was friend first or a politician first or a lawyer first. And he was equally good to all the three.
Yes,
So
sir.
I remember him with very great sadness. He was a very steadfast friend. As and when he would get opportunity, he would ask for the welfare of all his friends. Not that I was any exception. But yes,
Yes,
during those 3 years, I was spending all my waking hours with him. So now you tell me all about his political career and literary genius.
of course, sir. It was nice listening about the relationship between you and Keshri ji. I'm fortunate to oppose that I belong to the same district where Mr. Keshri ji was born and started his political and literary career. Firstly, speaking on his political career, he was a former member of Bharatiya Janata Party and joined when it was founded in 1980. Also, he was a member of Uttar Pradesh Legislative Assembly 6 times from year 1977 and 1980 as a part of the Jhusi constituency, which belonged to the Prayagraj, where he was in a consecutive wins from 1989 to 1995. He was a cabinet minister for institutional finances and sales tax for Uttar Pradesh during the Party regime from 1977 to 1979. He served as a Speaker of the Uttar Pradesh Legislative Assembly from 1991 to 1993, 1997 to 2002, and from May 2000 to March 2004. On 14 July 2014, he was appointed as the Governor of West Bengal and took oath on 24 July. He had additionally charged as a Governor of Bihar from 27 November 2014 to 15 August 2017. Also served as a Governor of Meghalaya and Mizoram also. Talking about his legal career, he enrolled as an advocate with the Bar Council of Uttar Pradesh in 1956, after which he started practicing at Allahabad High Court. In the same year, he became the Joint Secretary of High Court of Bar Association. As Sir have already described, he was a junior advocate of Jagdish Saroop at Allahabad High Court for many years. As a lawyer, Keshri Nath was an expert in election law and represented various distinguished clients like former PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Charan Singh, Subramanian Swamy, Raj Narayan, and former CM of Uttar Pradesh H.N. Bhaguna. And this list goes. Although he was offered to be elevated to be judge of Allahabad High Court in 1980, he rejected it. He became a senior advocate in Allahabad High Court in 1989. Moreover, he was active promoter of the Hindi language. He spoke at the World Hindi Conference in London 1999 and a Parambiru in 2003. He also served as the acting president of UP Hindi Sansthan in Lucknow. He was well recognized author and poet. Published several books. Some of them are The Age of Wings, Sanchita Kesrinath Tripathi, The Destination of Jesus, and The Image. Unfortunately, he is not with us now, but his career and work will be always inspiration for us. Sir, anything more if you want to add? So that's all.
So, but for the cold, no, I would have gone to Allahabad.
Yes, sir.
I had received an invitation from his son,
Yes,
who
sir.
is also in the profession of law. Uh, but it's too cold. Uh, and I had burnt my throat, inside of my throat, by swallowing uh, very hot tea.
Yes, sir.
So the doctor had told me that this is not the time for you to go because it may cause complications in breathing and other things. Otherwise, I was very keen, such a great friend and such a great personality,
Yes,
and
sir.
a very rare personality, I would say, very rare. Somebody had asked Jagdish Swarup ji, who is the best junior from your chamber? And unhesitatingly, he said that, that no question, Tripathi ji was
The best.
is
Yes,
the
sir.
best. And of course, he had so much of energy that he was working in two chambers simultaneously.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jagdish Swarups and Mr. V.K.S. Chaudhary.
Thank you, sir, for all about informing his relationship with you and telling about his earlier career. With this, we will be ending today's episode, and we'll be seeing you in the next episode, sir.
Thank you, Shashank. I'm really grateful for this particular episode because it's uh, it's a tribute to my friend, very dear friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.